Good morning, everybody. Happy Saturday. Hope you all had a fantastic week. We are going to keep playing in other waters. Today's going to be a very short stream, unfortunately. I have my brother coming by in like an hour and a half to help me move some heavy furniture, so we'll have to cut it early. Good morning, Free Frag. How are you? How was your week? All right, so we're just going to jump right in. I have 70% of the sea life surveyed already. 6 hours. Yeah, I estimated we'd get clocked at like 9 or so hours, right? So I guess that makes sense. You're doing good? That's good. Glad to hear it. Thanks for coming by. All right, where we left off, Monet has grown over the entire med bay now. Yep. All right, we're all caught up on our tax entries. So what were we doing? I think we had finished scanning all the samples we can scan at this time. All right, I think, whoops. Right, let's get down here and get the rest of these samples, because the next two objectives, one of them is near more samples, so we're just going to drop right in over here. These ones just sap. There's a lot of power sapping going on in this region. All right, so they're all over the place, right? Let me go this way first, maybe. We seem to be through. No more veils ahead. Monet, we are going back, or Ellery, we are going backwards. I'm sorry. Veils intersect strips of bioluminescence flour, creating bright folds in their gossamer material. So this is going to give us a lot of zapping. Ugh. Oh, and there's another one of these deep orreries. We don't want to get near because they zap us. Can't seem to scare them off, though. We're looking for sample candidates. At least, maybe. This is just deep pollen, but I'll take it. You never know when we're going to need oxygen. It's not true. We probably know when we're going to need oxygen, but fan sheath. Let's see if there was anything up here first. There is. It's a dying veil. Twisted back on itself, this veil is being eaten away by creatures, its defensive abilities neutered. We could sample some tissue here. That's what we want. Yes, animal tissue. Okay, that's one of the samples we came for. Veil tissue, an almost transparent panel taken from a dying veil. Alright, that's one. I think there were 4 in total. We can always get picked up at any time out here too, so not that big of a deal if we get turned around or something. Dark outcrop. Tangle edge. Here the veils part, looping back towards their fellow tangles. Let's head down here first. Do some veil crossing, I think. Something clouded in purple glints in the silt beyond the veil. It looks small enough to sample whole. Alright. Let's get zapped. Ah. Double zapped. Unknown animal tissue. A shed polyp. A polyp from a colonial life form lost on the ocean floor. Interesting. Veils meet here, but through their translucent skin I can see the dark shape of an outcrop. Alright. Zap. Little zap. Getting our morning zaps in. Narrow gap. Tangled outcrop object. Unlike the other outcrops, this dark rock is being invaded by the veils, subsumed by the tangles. Alright, through we go. Only got a few more veil crossings left in us. A fading fan. A wilted fan faintly pulses, while spines of its body have broken away, still faintly glowing in the silt. We could sample them. Okay. This is another sample. Yep, another unknown animal tissue. A spine from glowing fan, still faintly pulsing with warm light. Might as well take all of them. They do give us some energy if we need it, which we will soon. Might as well consume one of them right now, honestly. Alright. There's nothing further that way. I think the other one might be over here. Or up in this section somewhere. I'm going to try to see if we can get to it from here. Veil clearing. I'm starting to think there is some battle for territory between the veils as they search for the best spots to cast their nets. Another veil passage. Veil loop. Group of looped veils output the same pattern in an ornate game of call and response. Are they communicating with each other? Among the hypnotic patterns of the veils, other lights move, pinpricks like LEDs shifting in the loose orbit of an unseen body. A narrow gap. Let's head this way. I don't know if we've been to this section before or not. I think we have. Yeah. So I think it's up here. So we're going to try and head for that one. Question is, which way? I guess it doesn't matter. Well, not that way. Ow. Zap me. Was it this one that we didn't do last time? The waste pile? No, I feel like we did. Veil clearing. Tangle split. One tangle is split away from another here, moving down the slope away from the field. Maybe it's up this direction where we haven't been yet. Veil passage. Oh, dang it. Alright. Through we go. Oh, that one took a big chunk. But I think that's the last one. A shell segment gleams among the large numbers of semi-digested husks dumped by the veils. It looks small enough to sample. Yes, unknown animal shell. Whoops. Wrong button. Hi, kitty. Alright, what do we got here? Tail segment. Section of shell from a creature with a translucent tail. Okay. Now I think we're done, so we'll get retrieved. And I think that's it for this section. Right. Drop all this stuff in. Alright. Got lots of stuff. I think we start here. Tail segment. Yep, multiple entries updated. Glowing spine. Cold fire fan. Deep orrery updated. And snare veil updated. All right, let's go read the rest of those entries and see our pictures maybe. Oh, not for this one. I'm not sure if we read the observations on these or not. I think we did. Yeah. All right, let's check the behavior then. All right, after finding a segment from a sail shell's tail, it seems obvious that these creatures use their tails for propulsion, but rather than flapping them like a flipper, the sail shells use their tails to catch currents and allow the flow of water to propel them through the deep ocean. Their tails and the rest of their shells are incredibly light, which means that even a mild flow is enough to grant them significant speed. This may also be why they follow the same paths. Their propulsion is best suited to using currents where they can find them rather than choosing their own route. But why travel back and forth through dangerous veil territory over and over? Perhaps a look at a full sail shell, even a larval one, could help us understand this. I wonder if I actually... one of these... things I haven't scanned yet. No. I don't know why stock spore is still showing up as... maybe it's a glitch? Oh. It just updated stuff. Huh. What did it upgrade? Spore catcher. Okay. So... Alright. Analysis of the unique chemical compounds found in stalk spores and a wider understanding of how stalks use spores to communicate suggests a more mutual relationship between spore catchers and stalks than initially assumed. If stalks are able to tailor the chemical makeup of their spores, it is possible that the select spores the catchers eat are intended for their consumption, contain compounds and minerals attractive to the species. As spore catchers use their color-shifting properties to hide among stalk colonies, it seems increasingly possible that stalk colonies and spore catchers are mutualistically linked, and catchers serve the needs of specific stalk patches. What those needs are, however, is not yet clear. Analysis of spore catcher agate found may help us gain a full picture of the physiology, which we already had, I think. There's our spore catchers. Interesting. Weird. Siphon. Flap. That's weird. Like an undersea butterfly, bird, seagull thing. We have cold fire fans. Analysis of cold fire fan's spine we acquired shows that fans not only possess light-producing cells, but also light receptors too. These incredibly sensitive cells are found on the front of the fan and show the fans are able to perceive the lights of other creatures, including other fans. As each fan tends to its own oasis, perhaps the fans use their lights as territorial markers, signaling to other fans that their basalt column is taken. They may even use them to communicate with other species, responding to the flashing patterns of veils, for example, and letting them know not to approach their territory. Like lighthouses, cold fire fans seem to act as both safe havens and warning signals, depending on the creature they are signaling. It's like a big leaf. It's a big leaf. Cool. Alright. Snare veil. Having sampled a dying veil, analysis of the tissue demonstrates what a unique creature this snare veil is. Its tissue is threaded through with powerful neural connections, lined with a digestive surface like the interior of an animal intestine, and coated with a layer of light-emitting cells. It is as if a single creature had been turned inside out and rolled out until it was a flat plane, millimeters thick. A snare veil is a totally distributed form of life with no centralized brain, stomach, or other organs at all. It is self-same in its entirety. Any other piece resembles another. What we saw as a dying veil might have been purposefully separating itself, as each piece of a veil could grow another tangle. No wonder they have dominated portions of the seafloor. High-density folded veil section, bioluminescent patterning. Exposed electrocyte. Neural web. Weird. It's like a giant clonal body. Each section of it is multi-purpose. Alright, we get to see a picture of the deep orrery too. Having analyzed some tissue from the orrery's agile prey, we can begin to understand their behavior. Unable to match other creatures for speed, orreries seem to rely on the dangers presented by deep-sea veils, beside which they are often found. Veils funnel cautious creatures into the orrery's nets, while the orreries themselves don't seem to be affected by the veils and are able to traverse them easily. Perhaps the two have a symbiotic relationship, hunting together in a mutually beneficial manner. Outside of this, orreries appear to be mostly lone hunters, and I have seen no social interactions between individuals. But what exactly is an orrery? I would like to understand more about their strange, uneven forms. Perhaps a polyp that had been shed might provide details on their anatomy. Analysis of an orrery polyp has demonstrated that they are indeed colonial creatures. They appear to be made up of both specialized animals of the same species and different creatures of different species. Based on this, the orreries may need to be reclassified, although that would require extensive study and equipment I don't have access to. What I can say about the orreries is that each one seems to have specialized its own growth based on its requirements. Many of the zooids that are part of the colony are able to shift between medusoid, dactylozooid, tentaculozooloids, and gastrozooid forms with incredible speed, depending on whether the colony needs to focus on propulsion, feeding, defense, or digestion. This makes each orrery a complex social and biological structure, like a floating city rather than a lone hunter. Weird. So it's like an amalgam. Like a multi-symbiotic life form. That's really weird. Very strange. We got some more notes on reef stocks here. Analysis of stalk spores has revealed a rich cocktail of compounds unique to each spore, some of which are previously unknown to human chemistry. This aspect of the spores and their noticeable exchange between colonies of stalks suggests that these chemical cocktails are part of an information exchange network. However, some of these spores also appear to be true spores, used for the asexual reproduction of stalk colonies, suggesting that the information-carrying spores are adapted or modified reproductive spores. Analysis also suggests that stalk colonies may possess a high level of intelligence and cognition, and that the messaging provided by the spores is nuanced and even subjectively unique to each colony. Patterns across multiple spores from a single colony even suggest a chemical signature possessed by each stalk group. Could these be thought of as stalk names? Yeah, it looks like similar to the other stalks. Alright. We're still short on a couple samples, but everything else here has been... Oh, not these. Nest workers. We're probably not going to get that yet until we go back into the bloom. Okay. Did we get everything up there? Damn it, we missed one. Alright, we're going to go down from here. Second big island. Just going to go hit that. Oh, hit that island. That's probably the egg she was talking about in that other entry. Alright, this is Island 1. Yeah, we'll go this way. Actually, no. We'll go this way. Maybe we don't need to go through the thick of the veils to get to the next island here. You gotta go through some of them, though. Don't tase me. Oh, God. I got tased. I got tased real bad. Alright, this is island number 2. Maybe something that can give us our energy back. Yes. A sheath. And some pollen. We'll just take one. Alright. Next island is going to have our egg. There it is up there. These are just veil samples, I think. Digested remains. Okay. This might be it, or that might be it down there. That's just a fan sheath. We'll take it. They have a lot of energy in them. Okay. This is likely our egg. Nope, this is deep pollen. Well, we'll take those two. It's here, though. Wherever it is. There it is, small burrow. At the edge of the outcrop in the light sand slope. Shallow burrow leads down, eggs glint within. We could sample them here. Animal egg. Beaded eggs, a string of orange eggs found in the deep ocean. Alright, now. Now we can go back. And then we'll head down into the bloom. And I'm going to keep... Yeah, I'm going to keep all of this, actually, because we're going to need oxygen in the bloom, and we'll have a fan sheath for energy if we need it, because they're very high in energy. Hold on. There it is. Bizzle sail shell entry updated. After analyzing a clutch of beaded sail shell eggs and inspecting their anatomy, I've started to understand their behavior. Larval sail shells are already forming modified limbs with thin, thread-like whisks on them. These limbs move so fast when the sail shell is swimming they can barely be seen, but in the dormant eggs they are clearly visible. These whisks would allow the sail shells to feed by catching small larval creatures as well as any other particles of nutrients found in the water. This must be what the sail shells are doing when they follow their carefully selected paths back and forth through the water. It is also likely that the veils attract, trap, and produce tiny particles that the sail shells feed on, hence their close proximity. The result for sail shells is a very risky feeding pattern. Oh wow. That is not what I expected their sail tails to look like. I was picturing a lobster tail for some reason. But no, it's like a sail. It's like a ship sail. Cool. Very cool. It's like some kind of weird bug. A weird bug. Alright. So now we are going to head back into the bloom. There's 2 samples in the lab that we need to cut open. So we'll go for the samples first, I think. I'm not sure where this one is. Bloom froth. This hole in the bloom central ridge. If we get below this point, we can sample it. So I'll try coming from above, maybe? So we go southeast to this big blob. And then a bloom fan stem we need. We need to find a dead fan. Alright. Let's head into the bloom. Into the bloom. Oh, I was going to say we should have brought one of these colonies with us, but we can. Bring some nest workers. Make a safe zone if we need it. And these silicate skeletons, which that bical base was... Man, they have so much oxygen in them. Yeah, which they were experimenting with. They seem to think that they can be used as, like, computational devices somehow. Alright. Do these fans have oxygen? They do. We might as well take them while we're here. Just a small amount. Fan dust. And then we can hold on to a fan dust and turn one of those clam things into a safe area if we need it. Alright. It's like down here maybe? That might be the hole there. Maybe... Nope, it's further down. More skeletons. Can't really get any further than that. Maybe we do have to get there from underneath. Yeah, it's like that hole there. This seems to be like a high ridge. Okay. So we have to go around then. Alright, around we go then. And we will recharge at this way station. Alright. And down we go. We don't have any room to sample think we'll use that because these things have 2 uses. Alright, let's keep going. We gotta go past the lab, though. The lab is down that hole. We are not going that way. We're going this way. Oh, that might be it, though. I'm gonna drop one of these here. Make a little safe area. No, these are just bubbles. Well, I'll take them, though. They have a little bit of both. Okay, so the lab is there. So there's one, like, over here-ish. And then I'm pretty sure that's the big hole we need to get to. So it might be down and around here. Well, let's go this way first. Oh, nope, that's just a fan. That's just a fan. Gotta be here-ish. I use some of this fan dust, probably. Okay, we have not been this way. There's the dead fan. Shoot. Animal tissue. Piece of stem sampled from a dead fan creature. Okay, I don't know how to get to that other one. Maybe it's through the lab? What happens if we head down here? We can keep going. I feel like this is going in the wrong direction, though. We've also been this way before. Or maybe that was the... I don't know what... I don't know. I don't remember. Bloom bubbles. No, we've seen those before. More dense bubbles. This is just a roundabout trip, I think. I don't know if I've been here. I have not. Bubble. Kind of bubble. Oh. There's our last specimen. Nests of small, iridescent creatures which maintain protective bubbles around their territory, shielding them from the bloom. I'll call these weavers for those beautiful nests and bubbles they weave. What would we do without them? What would we do? We would suffocate, presumably, or drown, I guess. More silicate skeletons. Hmm. I wish I could see the dive map. Another sphere fragment. Oh, might as well take this one then. Shimmering bubble. I feel like we missed it. Okay, I'm gonna get picked up. And I need to take another look at that map. I'm having a hard time figuring out how to get to that other one. If I can't figure it out, I think we'll just go through the lab. Maybe it's on the other side of it or something. We did get a new sample, fan stem. Weavers are creatures found in the bloom, where they build elaborate, cylindrical nests protected by bubbles of oxygenated water. Iridescent and translucent, weavers themselves are difficult to observe individually due to their size and speed. Each nest is a hive of activity, as is the fizzing skin of the bubbles that protect them, which the weavers carefully maintain. If at any point the integrity of that bubble seems to be collapsing, many weavers will rapidly respond, leaving the nest in swarms to rebuild the bubble's skin. What is it that the weavers are protecting, and how are they shielding themselves so efficiently from the bloom? Analysis of individual weavers might help if we are able to catch some of them. Oh, so we might actually be able to... Do we have... Yes. There we go. And then there will be a request for a better sample, probably. Analysis of weaver specimens shows them to be shelled creatures with a set of jointed mandibles which they use to handle their threads. These threads are the most fascinating aspect of the weavers. They are silk, but lined with a type of bacteria which lives inside the mouthparts of the weaver. When the threads are produced, they are coated with this bacteria which aggressively consumes the microbial growth of the bloom. When not producing silk, this bacteria is kept alive by scavenging on the food that the weavers eat, taking their share from particles stuck on the weaver's mouthparts. However, analysis of the weavers themselves still gives no idea of what might lie in their nest. They protect these nets aggressively, but if I could find an abandoned one, it may be possible to sample it. And then study of a piece of bloom fan stem reveals that below the sand, a bloom fan has 4 jointed legs and a head with a circular mouth. Using these, the bloom fan scrapes through the rock and sand in order to extract minerals and biological compounds. Bloom fans may feed on the roots or even the buried eggs of other bloom species. This source of nutrients, when supplemented by the oxygen gathered through its tail fan, which is in fact more of an external lung, is enough to sustain a bloom fan for a long period, especially due to its mostly static lifestyle. What this also suggests is that there may be a larger subterranean ecosystem which remains undiscovered beneath the bloom. Is this where life is retreated to in these toxic conditions? There's a little head underneath the sand that it eats with. That's really weird. Alright. So, damn it. Yeah, that's gotta be inside the lab. Okay, so we're gonna drop down, go past the lab to grab it, and then come back up and break into the lab. That's our game plan. Actually, it might be better to just go down, grab it, drop it off at the lab, and then, well, whatever. We just need to get down there. We have all our waypoints, so this should be a fast trip. Oh, something in my eye. I wonder how... Yeah, I got to get into this lab. I'm curious to see... Was this bloom here before Baikal set up the lab? Did they set up the lab to study it? Or is the bloom the result of an experiment or something escaping from that lab? Very curious. It's all the way down here. There's the lab, so we got to keep going. Let's pass the lab. I don't think that's it. No. Is that it? No. Running low on oxygen. It's got to be down here. Oh, that might be it. Up there. I take a breather here to consume a fragment, sphere fragment. Okay. Let's head up and over to the left. Corroded module. Outside the protective bubble, this module's been corroded beyond recognition. Froth of bloom growth covering the rusted plates. Pulled from the base generator, Manet looks to have been using the bloom as a vast microbial fuel cell to power her work here. This nest once protected this lab module, but now it is clogged with growth. With the colony gone, we could sample its structure. Let's... A fibrous nest. Wow, that's a lot of oxygen. As we'll take 2 of them. Alright, and then we'll get extracted. So that we don't have to go the long way back to the lab. And we'll analyze that too. And I'll hold on to one of them because it's got a lot of oxygen. Shard of woven crystalline nest sampled from the bloom. Alright, the pieces of weaver nest we found offer an insight into the weaver's protective behavior. Wrapped in its threads are thousands of weaver eggs. This suggests that, like ants or termites, weavers are a eusocial species, with many generations of weavers protecting and maintaining a singular productive female. These weaver queens must be somewhere within the active weaver nest, protected by layers of silken threads and weaver workers. Nest fragments also revealed that the weavers farm their own food within the nest structure, carefully maintaining tubular fields of microbes, which through the weaver's careful cultivation seem to produce oxygen rather than the toxins that poison the bloom. How can this be possible? Weaver, not to scale. Has weaving mandibles, translucent layered shell. So its shell kind of looks like a shorter version of the sail shell. And then this is their nest. Little workers making silken mesh. So those bubbles we pass through are actually like big spherical bubbles made out of silk that we pass in and out of. And they like all disperse and patch up the thing, and it leaves a little bubble of oxygen that we're passing through, like a silk bubble. That's very cool. Alright. Time to get to that lab now. We've got just under an hour. I think this is enough time to explore this lab. Alright. Time to learn more about this bloom. Probably gonna have to dump a bunch of samples as we explore. The lab, because they're like the arcology, there might be other species that we haven't discovered under there. But I will take these anyway for now, because free oxygen. It's free. It's a renewable resource. All right, there's the lab. All right, get down out of the bloom, I believe. Yeah, okay. Let's cut our way in. Choked with rock and sand, the metal chamber is deathly still. The angular shapes of industrial machinery lie in wait. This might be in a better condition than the arcology. The pillars which stretch up towards the cavernous roof of the chamber are warped and distorted, barely able to hold the weight. There's another big hole. There's a couple of them, actually. There's one down there. I imagine this was once a sealed tube stretching from floor to ceiling, but now it's just a round, ragged hole in the metal floor. Hulking machines built for industrial use sit covered in a fine layer of sand and growth. This was a place where people worked. Half of the rock ceiling above the chamber seems to have come down at once, burying most of the room. Okay, let's head over here first. Rusted machinery. Oh, we can go down in there as well. Oh, there's nothing else up here. Oh, it looks like there might be another seal over here. I don't know if you can see that. And there is something here. Look, that tank. It is filled with microbial growth. What was this place? Be careful, the water will be just as toxic as it is above in the bloom. Bloom froth. This dark hole in the floor is spewing out the same microbial clumps as seen in the bloom above. They settle around the vent in layers. Alright, this might be the origin. Oh yeah, look at this place. It's clogged. The side of the vast tank has been corroded away, melted by the incredibly dense volume of microbes inside. Caved-in ceiling. Huge volumes of rock and sand must have smashed through the layers of the facility, burying it in its occupants. Can we get out of that microbial growth? We can. Whether it was a control room or storage shed, this room has been totally crushed by the facility's collapse. That's up into the tube. Oh, a console. User M. Diaz. MD, sir, Dr. Hesse has just arrived from Site 1. FT, send him through. Constantine has full clearance. Constantine Hesse. Constantine was the one that I think people were asking, like, what are they doing at the arcology? And I think they're the one that sabotaged the arcology. The shell of some corroded maintenance vehicle is flooded with sand, its top a garden of microbial growth. So yeah, the same thing happened here. So it looks like the same person was responsible for both. Which makes sense if it was some kind of self-destruct protocol or whatever. Angular plates piled with sand are all that remains of the rooms and structures that divided up this level of the facility. Bical containers marked with now dull yellow biohazard tape. What were they shipping into this facility? Another big pool of microbes. This is no lab. This is an industrial facility. These containers must have carried some vital resource for its operation. Fuel, perhaps? Okay, there's nothing up there. Everything else is buried. Was there a further down over here? There is. All right, we're going further down. Man, this is a big-ass tank. Tank breach. How did this towering metal container split apart so violently? An accident or something more? These tank walls were breached with explosive force, the remains corroding away over the decades that followed a violent act. I bet it was sabotaged. These banks of consoles must have controlled the operations within the tank. Now the tank's contents have turned them to scrap. Yes, I know my oxygen is running low. So the blue-green algae that makes up the bloom, I bet it was brought here and used as fuel. And these assholes, when they decided to self-destruct the facility, had no concern about the contamination that it would cause to the local environment. So they're like, we will destroy this facility by blowing it up or whatever, but releasing all the blue-green algae into the local biosphere. These wide pipes look to have been connected to the hull's tank. They must have controlled the outflow of whatever was produced here. Maybe they were bioengineering something. These pipes, those tanks, this facility was outputting huge volumes of something into the planet's atmosphere. This has to have been a geoengineering project, a way of changing Gle 667cc. But looking at this place, it suffered a total collapse. What went wrong? So they were going to bioengineer it. The ocean. All right, I am going to consume a nest fragment. Delicious. Maybe they were going to use blue-green algae. R. Ingram. RI. Maintenance on the South Hull is continuing. I'm seeing a massive pressure spike here. Control? Tank stands in a huge hall, its pipes leading off into the dark. This facility was not built to study this planet, but to change it. They were going to terraform it, even though it had native life. Plumes of green microbial froth pour from the breach tank. Are these microbes even local to this planet, or did Bical bring them here? Yeah. These bloom bubbles. They are 15% power and 10%, which are better than the fan dust. I'm going to keep one fan dust in case... Well, keep a couple, I guess, because I don't need any more oxygen right now. Tall passage between the two halls of the facility. This must have been impressive when it was in full operation. Those are huge tanks. The central tank has held back the sand and rock, but it leans unsettlingly forward into the hall. A fully sealed tank rises up through the center of the hall, its sheer sides streaked with growth from the southern tank. So this tank is intact, and this one was breached, so they had two huge tanks here. Between the overhanging tank and the buckled, twisted walls, a clear corridor leads forward. More bloom froth. Crushed by the rockfalls, broken open containers reveal rich patches of microbial growth like miniature gardens. A row of corroded consoles wired up to an umbilical connection which has been cut away. A sand-dusted chair props up the remains of a suit, the faceplate clouded with rich green growth. User K Hello. Cage. Control? I'm slicing it before it cascades. Clear the reactor chamber. The bacteria outflow is about to hit. It's like a reactor. I know that reactor doesn't necessarily mean power generation. It can also be like a chamber where a chemical reaction takes place. The connection between this console and the tank is sliced clean through. Is this what stopped it from breaching? So they managed to prevent the second one from breaching, but it ultimately doesn't seem to matter. Rising wall of sand leans heavily against the tank, bearing tons of equipment, and who knows what else beneath its slopes. Third smaller tank there. A large access hatch to the floor above lies open, its ladder corroded into a twisted, rusty spine. User L. Youngs. Yes, sir. Atmospheric density is increasing ahead of schedule. Please inform the board. They will be pleased. Fucking boards. The rows of sand-choked desks, rusted consoles, and dim monitors make it clear this was the facility's control room. Preserved by the low flow of water inside the control room, the smoothed-out shapes of human bones are scattered across the floor. Here. This is where they controlled this place once. They were changing this planet, manipulating it. These vast tanks of engineered microbes were their tools. Algae changed the atmosphere of Earth billions of years ago. These creatures were meant to do the same. But by accident or sabotage, this containment was breached. These idiots, they could have killed every last species on this planet, eaten up in a global bloom. Somehow the reef survived, somehow the stocks held on, tried to revert our mistake. Humans don't deserve this planet. We didn't deserve to find life. I've seen enough. Scan what's left and I'll take a look back at base. Let's find a way out of here. Yeah, I agree. Dr. Vass. C. Hesse. No. No! Oh god, the tank is breached. The artificers, I didn't mean... Connected the... I don't know what happened there, but it seems like it was a mistake. Constantine, what are you... Step away from the console. I'm sorry. Control room's evacuation hatch hangs open, piles of rock and sand all around. Despite the cave-in, this console is surprisingly pristine, a cup sitting beside one of the monitors where it was placed decades before. So, he meant to sabotage the facility, but not in this way? He didn't mean to do the contamination? B. Badeo. BB, we are doing the artificers a favor. Despite all their abilities, they couldn't manifest this kind of planetary change. Yeah, is that what you think? You're doing the alien species a favor by attempting to bioengineer their planet? Because, yeah, humans always know what's best for everything, right? This is why no one escaped the facility. This tunnel is sealed, the control room's escape route cut off. And I'm betting this is where our sample is for this area. Can I gotta take some power generation here. Always gotta be fucking with everything. Stupid humans. Sealed at both ends, this corridor is pristinely preserved. The bical decal is still visible on the gleaming walls. Decals? Decals? It's a word I often see written, but not spoken. A second seal locks off the corridor at the other end. They made sure no one would escape. They really didn't want anyone escaping this place. It's too bad whatever they did contaminated the whole fucking area. Though, yeah, it's amazing that they still found some way to survive. The tunnel leads out into a small shelf overlooking a rift discreetly cut into the rock. Back in the open water, the current at this end of the rift softly pushes against the suit. Is there a sample over here? There's gotta be. Life finds a way. Yeah. That's true. Above, the steep rift wall meets the shelf of the bloom. It may not have, though, had it gotten, like, really out of control. Like, if the humans were left to their own devices here. To the north, green clouds rise up, the familiar sight of the bloom that surrounds this shelf and the facility below it. So we're on the other side of the bloom here. Behind the pillars, the reef's strong currents are lessened, making a small sheltered stretch of water on this side of the rift. I've been to both of these. Dang it. Where is that sample? Because here we're going back into the bloom now. I thought it was going to be in the lab. What did we miss? Maybe I missed something in the lab. I'm going to go back down and make sure that I didn't miss anything. Yeah, there's nothing here. Nope, there's nothing here. I mean, I scanned this area pretty thoroughly. So I don't think it's out here. I need power. It might be near the entrance. Maybe there was a section we didn't explore. Oh, we can go down again? Ah. The oldest and largest microbial colonies lie here, great translucent green bubbles made up of millions and millions of microbes. Gleaming in the green, these vast reflector lamps sit at the base of the tank. They must have lined the walls of the container, beaming in light. The lamps, the old growth, this is where the bloom began. This is no native microbe. It is lab-grown, built to convert light into power and oxygen, a vast microbial fuel cell designed to thicken the atmosphere of this planet, no doubt. But when it breached containment, I'm surprised anything still lives on this planet. It must have been devastating. I think this is our sample. Yeah. There we go. Bacterial colony. Wow, that's a lot of power and oxygen. Bloom source. A huge colony sample from Site 2 beneath the bloom. Okay. Gotta get the hell out of here before we suffocate. Okay, good. Come in. Alright. How are we doing for time? We're doing pretty good for time. There'll probably be progress, story progress, when we get back to Lab 2 after exploring this. Who knows, maybe Manet will have found the artist formerly known as Manet will have found a way to communicate. Still don't know what the hell happened to her. I'm guessing that they don't have like any genetic sampling equipment here. 'Cause from some of the other notes, it's like I can't without more equipment, I can't determine certain things. And the med bay doesn't seem to be anything more than like for treatment of common ailments, maybe injuries and stuff. Yep. Back online? Good. I've been working with the data we extracted from the facility. What they did there, it's terrible. They could have wiped out life on this planet. Baikal should have known better than to mess with the entire planet's ecosystem. The failure of the facility was catastrophic. The bloom dominated half of the planet. As far as I can tell, it wiped out the artificers. Think about those skeletons in the bloom. But the rest of the planetary ecosystem reacted somehow, resisted, pushed the bloom back. I don't understand how life could have adapted to the change in conditions so quickly, though. It's as if they evolved to meet the challenges of the bloom in mere decades. Impossible. Let's keep looking. There's another facility to investigate out to the east. There has to be more to this. So it did spread across the whole planet, and now it's been like it's slowly being contained. That's wild. How's Manet doing? Data breach detected. Is it interfering with the ship systems somehow? So the artificers' skeletons that we found is because the bloom killed them. Did it wipe out all of them on the whole planet? Or did they retreat? Bloom froth updated. The discovery of bloom froth colonies in Site 2 suggests that the bloom microbes are laboratory-adapted cyanobacteria, developed for power generation and terraforming. Baikal's original intention may have been to oxygenate the atmosphere of Gliese 667cc, thickening the atmosphere to offset atmospheric warming due to its tidally locked orbit. But when their terraforming site was breached and this species reached the open water, they visited a massive ecological disaster on this planet. How did the planet survive? This aggressive species should have turned the ocean green, flooding it with neurotoxins. Such an adaptive, aggressive, genetically modified species is outlawed by every biological sanction we have. I am preserving these samples as evidence of their crimes. One day Baikal will pay for this. Goddamn corpos, man. Alright, well, we can save anywhere, so we've got time to at least head over here and see what's going on in this facility. Head out into our bloom gardens. And some of these things we might need. Soothe spores, which get stalks to grow. Ah, right. We need our jets. Here we go. Whatever the hell this weird tentacle thing is, giant tentacle mass. Behind the barrier of the throbbing interior of the colony is revealed, filled with throngs of zooids acting as one. I've never seen a colonial creature of this scale or complexity. Can it really be one single united creature made of ever-shifting processes? Beneath the translucent webs of spherical growths, half-digested walls sit suspended like an exploding room frozen in time. The vague shape of the facility's walls is preserved by the colony, the spaces between filled with shifting swarms of life. The interior of this creature is like a golden bubble, the light trapped and reflected by hundreds of pearly orbs strung together. This colony breaks the surface 20 meters above. It must be floating on the surface, its body descending in layers like a living iceberg. Weird. Between the ragged parts of the facility stretch looping bridges, pumping liquid back and forth from the heart of the colony. Oh, some consoles there. The walls are a flowing mass of tentacles. Some have broken away and are floating freely in the water. We might be able to extract them. Let's, because this is some weird shit. Unknown animal zooid. Zooid tentacles sampled from a floating colony. Tiny medusoid creatures are budding from the walls here, splitting off from luminous stems to join the flow. Radis colony, where'd she get that name from? I'll call this colony Radis. It floats beautifully across the ocean like some impossible vessel. A vast colonial creature made of thousands of specialized zooids, it floats freely in the ocean, its upper section breaking the ocean's surface. Eaten away on one side, the remains of this lab are like an open set, a staging ground for the colony's process of sublimation. User S. Emerson. S.E. Constantine is too arrogant. Just because he discovered the artificers doesn't mean he can decide their fate. Agreed. H. Roth. HR, Sam, he wants to free them, SE. And what do the artificers want, Hannah? Has anyone asked them? Why would the colony preserve the rooms of the facility as it consumes them? What bizarre processes are in action here? Another console. The central laboratory is almost complete. Apart from the large tree-like growths cutting through its walls, F. Voigt. FV, we can't let this continue. We never intended this. That thing they are building. GS, I know. Colony's heart. Dappled light fills this chamber, passing through its complex branching strands orbited by swarms of zooids. This looks like a biologist's laboratory. It must have been the first exploratory base on the planet. They discovered the artificers. They started all of this. These were scientists like me, employed by Baikal to study this place. How did it end like this? The minds they were building in the arcology, the genetic research they were doing here, they were all working towards something bigger than just one lab. How could they have let this happen? These biologists. Our first contact turned into a resource grab. Scan all you can and let's leave this place. I'll review everything back at the base. It won't be long before the colony eats this place away once and for all. The biologists here didn't seem to be on board with the rest of what was going on. G. Sour. GS. Constantine has already left for Site 2. If the facility fails and Site 3 is breached, the oceanic mine can be stopped. Constantine has already left for Site 2. If the facility fails and Site 3 is breached, this is Site 3. The oceanic mine can be stopped. I wonder what they meant by that. There were a couple other directions I haven't explored in yet. Up here's one of them. The hollow structure of the colony allows water to flow throughout its core, creating both bulbous corridors and open halls. This piece of the lab floats on gas-filled bladder zooids, keeping it buoyant. Some float in the open water, the perfect sample candidates. This is so weird. It's like trying to preserve the lab? Or keep it isolated while digesting it? Colony bladder. These shoals of golden life look solid as I approach, but passing through, they are little more than flurries of petals caught on the current. The ocean stretches east from here, a blue desert beneath 3 red suns. What might lie out there beyond the range of this suit? Another console. More gas bladders holding the remains of the lab in place like the pieces of a torn map, hinting at the history of a long ruined structure. Just more colony bladders. I don't need any more of those right now. User M. Thorfinn. MT. That is absurd, Kevin. They are no different to us, adapting their environments so they may survive. KC. No, they are not us. From some angles, the zooid-clogged walls of the facility line up, and I can imagine the past life of this place with all its human dramas. User K. Clark. KC, the artificers are gardeners, not colonizers. They rewrite genetic code to develop mutualism, to foster life. So the artificers are not native to this planet, maybe, either? And they came here and genetically engineered the life to end competition and foster mutualism and symbiosis. Earth could use that. Come to Earth. Yes, genetically modify us. Do it. That's what happened with Monet. I wonder if Monet was exposed to an artificer by accident, or if she knew what they were doing and exposed herself on purpose. But that would imply that the artificers, or what they used, are still here, even after the disaster. Because, like, it did something to her. It changed her. A fragment of a room eaten away into some strange sculpture hanging in the blue. It's hard to imagine what this place once was. Each zooid has a function within the colony, their flow back and forth evidence of some complex process that is impossible to parse. Alright. I think that's it. Alright, let's get back to the lab. So they're doing the opposite. They're doing the opposite of what the humans are doing, and good for them. They would adapt themselves to the environment instead of trying to adapt the environment to them. Online again? Good, we have a lot to talk about. I've been digging through what we discovered at the facility. I was right to assume that facility was the first base on the planet, the start of all this. The lead biologist, Konstantin Hesse, found the artificers here more than 30 years ago. But what is truly incredible is what he discovered they could do. Genetic reprogramming, rewriting RNA and DNA both in themselves and their local environment. Some Earth cephalopods could rewrite their RNA, but nothing at this scale or detail. The artificers tended to this world, nudging its life into new arrangements. Not only that, but their exoskeletons, they were quantum computers. Silicon wafers of incredible complexity and purity, able to simulate the outcomes of their genetic rewriting. The artificers were housed in natural machines, ones that evolved here over millions of years. Their complexity far outstrips our own. We could have learned so much from them. Maybe they were from this planet. But Baikal wanted the artificers' abilities for themselves, and based on what we found at Site 2, we know how this ended. A total collapse, a vast microbial fuel cell leaking into the ocean, eating everything away. The artificers gone, their genetic abilities used in death to save this planet's life. They died for this planet, and you are all that survives them. Well, perhaps not all. I keep seeing the same thing mentioned in the data, the same term appearing in fragments. The oceanic mind. As far as Baikal were concerned, you were just the beginning, the first mind. The artificers were the key, inscrutable creatures with a quiet power. Able to simulate, predict, and able to change. They could rewrite life itself. For Baikal, the opportunity this provided was clear. While the artificers were like gardeners, caretakers of this world, Baikal imagined something else. An oceanic mind, providing total control of the ecosystem, able to enact their will. That's what they were building when the colony collapsed, and is still out there. In the deep, powered by the heat of hydrothermal vents, the oceanic mind sleeps. I want to see it for myself. We have to know how this all ended. I've marked the approximate position on the map, way out to the north, deep in the abyss. Let me know when you're ready to see this through. I am depressed. I am now depressed. Alright. Rattus colony. The Rattus colony is a huge colonial organism made of layers of zooids, all occupying different roles within its large and complex body. Closer to a living island or iceberg than a creature, Rattus is a free-floating structure which travels across the surface of Gliese 667cc's planet-spanning ocean. Trying to observe the patterns of Rattus is a difficult task. I have counted tens of different zooid types, flowing in constant movement throughout its cavernous interior. We can assume that they occupy the typical roles of a colonial organism: motility, defense, digestion, and reproduction. But in a colony so vast, many other processes may be happening. Does Rattus have any neural activity? And why does it cling to the remains of the Baikal lab? Sampling some of the different zooid types may help us understand more about this colony. Okay, and we do have a sample. Colony bladder. And colony tentacle. Sampling the colony's gas bladders has helped us to analyze how Rattus stays afloat. It seems that thousands of these bladders of different sizes both keep Rattus at the surface and hold the fragments of the laboratory in place. These bladders, with their high oxygen content, can be inflated or deflated individually to respond to currents and move Rattus across the ocean. This suggests that Rattus has some way of orchestrating massive changes across its huge volume. In a sense, perhaps Rattus is better thought of as an individual with various specialized organs rather than a colony, and yet it shows no signs of a central intelligence. If I was to discover neural activity within Radis, could I even understand it? This creature is so alien to our way of understanding the world. Analyzing Radis's tentacles has shown they possess an ability to secrete metal-digesting substances. The conclusion is that these tentacles are consuming the lab piece by piece, using it to fuel the colony's incredible growth. Perhaps Radis was once a tiny creature, floating in a biologist's tank. When the facility was breached, Radis was gifted a near inexhaustible amount of metal to consume, allowing it to grow to its vast size. One day, it will eat away the entire structure, its body carrying the shadow of this planet's first human settlement. Sometimes I wish that our marks on Earth could be erased so easily. The only shadows in our oceans are those of thousands of extinct species we will never regain. That makes me want to cry, honestly. Gas platters. Zoid spawning chains, digestive tentacle. That's a bladder zooid, a medusa zooid, a pearl carrier zooid. Colony approx height is 70 meters. It's like a giant... Yeah, it's like a giant individual eating the lab. Alright, we have a new journal entry. Personal log 7. I was born on Earth. Born in the city of Ponta Delgada, out in the Atlantic, among the turquoise waters and green slopes of the Azores. My father was studying the dying waters, chasing the last known pod of sperm whales to record a final fading image of their impossible spatial language before it was lost forever. My mother was a journalist writing a book on citizen scientists that never found a publisher. We lived there, and all along the Atlantic coast of Europe for almost a decade before life became impossible, the storms tearing into the tidal walls flooding city after city, clothes twisted in foaming waters. We joined the latest waves of refugees, found ourselves beside the Thames, resettled in London. From that privileged viewpoint, I watched our oceans die, and then my parents too. And at some point, once I'd left that sad gray planet behind on a string of Baikal contracts, I forgot that turquoise water ever existed. You were born here, and maybe here things can be different. Observation blister. I'm not going to push that button in case it leads to the next section of the game, because we are out of time. And I'm going to go have a cry. Oh boy. There are the deep vents. And likely where we're going to get maybe some optimism. Free Frag, thanks for sticking with me today. You take care too. Have yourself a great weekend. Alright, well, that's it for the short stream today. Actually, perfectly timed because it's 10:30 right when I needed to stop, so we will take on probably the final section of the game when we come back on Tuesday, I imagine. Alright, Free Frag, thanks for hanging out with me today. Thanks everyone for watching. I will catch you for likely the conclusion on Tuesday. Alright, take care everyone. Bye.